Tarnished. Welcome, and let me show you this loadout that I've been working on that I call the Ilmenite Knight. Of course, Ilmenite is like this black metal that's kind of like got rust on it or whatever. And I have just been working on this faith and holy based build for a little bit. It's more like a loadout because I've been using this build and just switching around the stuff, but I really like this loadout because of the utility and for these other few points that I'm going to show you on this video. So yeah, man, it is a faith and holy build, and it's based just purely off of that. Only have enough strength and dexterity to really like wield the weapons that I choose to use appropriately, and all of everything else is based through faith, specifically through holy if possible. And the wondrous flask I use is damage negation and holy boost, so every duel I make sure to pop that because it's a big addition to damage. Also for the talismans, I got the Eldri favor +1 and the jar talisman or whatever that is, so I can have that extra equip load to have decent armor and all these different weapons I'm trying to carry. The other two talismans are the incantation boost and holy boost. The incantation boost, you know, as you'll see in these matches, I really don't do too much with incantations past the intro of my rotation, but nevertheless it just kind of makes these first few things a little bit more, so I just kept it on there. All my weapons are modded for like faith and holy, so this is strictly what this is based around, and most of my equip load goes to the weapons that are mainly for utility, but they're all pretty much modded or have faith scaling too, so it makes my lack of strength and dexterity actually worth it. As you can see in some of these clips, my rotation's kind of the same. I do my buff with the golden vow and the physical damage negation. It's like black flame protect me or something like that. I forgot what it's called. And at that point I have enough FP to cast Elden Stars if I'm not being rushed. Elden Stars is kind of the main reason I went for this faith build, because I saw it and I was really interested to see how players react to it, and I based this build kind of around that, because when you cast Elden Stars, I flip my incantation to Bestial Sling just in case I need it. But from Elden Stars, they're forced to react, and they have two options. They can either run, and that's what most people are going to do, because people aren't used to seeing it, and it's like, what the heck is coming towards me? And that's where I will restore my FP, because that's what we've been seeing is okay in duels. It's still respectable to do the FP, and then I just try to follow it up with ranged attacks with several utility weapons that I have. That's the reason that I like Elden Stars a lot. It's a really good cover spell, so to speak, I guess. Like, it takes a lot of their concentration, and so I can start throwing out some of these ranged skills that normally are fairly easy to read, but under the pressure of Elden Star 2, depending on the player, I can kind of like see when they're dodging or when they might be running out of stamina, and try to hit those windows and land an attack or two before the fight's even really started to commence. But yeah, Elden Stars is a great distraction tool. Plus, the Halo Scythe in that combination is a great range skill because of the range itself and the option it has for like the casting cadence, that you can do it like kind of slower to a certain extent, and then you can immediately switch it up to go a bit faster, and that always kind of throws people off when they're expecting to dodge stuff, especially when you have Elden Stars in the mix too. So yeah, that combination right there is just a little bit scary when it comes down to it, unless they're just very used to dealing with that. And of course, you know, it's definitely a overtuned weapon, I feel like, a little bit right now, but still, I try not to spam it, but whatever. Uh, it definitely has downsides, you know, it hits on random surfaces and it's easy to read when there's not additional pressure. But the other way that you can kind of respond to Elden Stars is by just rushing and attacking. So they can either run or attack. You can't just sit there. I mean, I guess you can just sit there, kind of like dodge left and right, and stall. But I guess I kind of consider that running because it gives me the option to do what I want to, and you're busy and just sitting there using stamina. But if you attack, that's kind of like the best option because you know, if you catch me in these long animations, or if you have a range attack that you can just throw up in the middle of that, there's a big window to like take some pretty large notches off my HP in these windows while I'm casting Elden Stars. So that's the reason I don't cast Elden Stars if I'm just getting rushed and something happens like that. But also, Elden Stars is kind of bigger bark than bite. All the little bitty stars definitely cause damage, but they do more like stutter than they do damage. It's that big star that's producing all the little stars is what you have to worry about. And if you can, like, depending on the range that was casted, if you can rush through it or just make sure to dodge that final one, yeah, it's really not a lot to deal with. And I feel like have been punished more than Elden Stars has actually benefited me. Well, let me rephrase that. I've been punished, or the damage is pointless, where they just like run away and wait for the whole fight to restart, more than Elden Stars actually does damage. But that's not the reason I use it. It's all about distraction and allowing them not to be able to make the choice of when and where they're going to move. They have to make this decision of run or attack right now at the beginning of the fight. And then it kind of throws them out of their comfort zone. That's what this build is a little bit built around. And then from that point, depending on what they choose, I start using my utility of my weapons. It depends on what I'm fighting, of course, and what option they choose, either the run or attack. But my other utility weapons are the Scarlet Rot causing saber. I can't remember the name of it, but sabers are just quick attacks. This is a pretty good weapon just overall. And once you add the Thunderbolt spell on it, which is another quick range attack. So with this weapon, I got a quick melee and a quick range attack. With that Ash of War Thunderbolt, I can scale it towards Holy too. So now I have a quick saber that adds Scarlet Rot and also scales off Faith a bit. So very good option for this build. Tons of utility with the Thunderbolt. It's really quick. It can cause some disruption unless they're expecting it. It's with my scaling and the holy damage going on, it's usually a decent little tick off their health. The next utility weapon is the Black Knife Assassin Dagger. I honestly never really use it in melee. It's really just for that Ash of War. It has a great aerial dodge when you know when to use it, and of course there's going to be times where that does more harm than good, standing still for your opponent to be ready for his move. But you just got to know when to use it, and I'm still not perfect at it. But even though it doesn't hit the skill on this weapon, it doesn't hit most of the time, but there's a chance when it doesn't hit, when it has like that half hit like you can get in PvP, it still adds the DOT, the damage over time, with what's it called? This black flame type of damage, and it's a good like 5%. So it can be unexpected too. I can't tell you how many people have died from that, and this is good to have, and also just to throw up the rotation and keep them on their feet. The next thing, and definitely it's last but not least, is the dual scythes. When I just get rushed and I know I'm expecting melee, that's what my go-to is, the dual scythes. They have face scaling with how I'm set up. The Halo scythe has a great Ash of War, like we talked about. A few downsides, but I try not to spam it, so it's not too reliant on that. And the Wings scythe, because it also scales off faith. But of course, the Ash of War is one of the best in the game. It gives you super high poise, allows you to kind of like, push through people who might be rushing you, or might not be expecting for you to have something that can break through their poise breaking attack. But it's something amazing to have in the arsenal. That's the reason I have it in the offhand, because I just don't use it all the time. It's just one of those things too where they're not expecting it in the last 5-10% of their health. Like duel's kind of dragging along, and then you just whip that out. It's a good thing to have in the pocket. And the dual scythe, loadout alone, the move set with it is very slow but very punishing when it does hit. And especially with PvP, people trying to rush you, and there's just a few ways that you can use it to your advantage. But there's definitely, when someone gets in your jam and you're trying to break away and they have something quick that's in your face, it's really hard to deal with it. And that's the reason you see my other two utility weapons have very quick movesets about them. But that's really what it comes down to with the dual scythes. That moveset, I really like the stepping back too. It's very deceiving, and also it hits hard when it does. You can just keep on trying to back up, trying to act like you're just running away, but just waiting for that moment where they get tired and they just run in on you and just throw that double slash out. And it has a high stagger too, so good chance you're gonna stop them, throw them down, and let you have advantage of the situation. So, and like I said, Bestial Sling is in the skill slot most of the time after Elden Stars, just for like those random throw offs too, just to have it in the pocket in case I need it. I would try to. I think there was like a whip at one point as a third weapon on my left hand. I sacrificed a little bit of armor, a few other little things that fit in utility, like a little bitty shield for parry, but I kept it off that left hand because I felt it difficult to have to switch between too many different options between the two hands. So just that seal is there for the initial burst of incantations, and Bestial Sling if it needs it, but for the most part the scythe stays on the offhand past that. And I try to avoid spamming Thunder and the Halo Scythe. I feel like they're a little bit overtuned, and they're easy readable when there isn't distraction going on. And this is good to have in the back pocket to catch them off guard. But yeah, man, I appreciate you guys watching. Hope you understand what I was putting down. And if you have any questions or comments about the build, feel free to leave them in the comments. Thank you.